We are all bound to see the light. Every one of us are seeking for answers. We are accustomed to it. We thought we can do something about it. We wanted to break free. Every one of us has a story. And this is my story.
I am Paul Kenneth Santorias. I am 22 years old. I was born in Manila but was raised in Cagayan de Oro City. I graduated at Xavier University at Ateneo de Cagayan in course Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Since before, I really wanted to change the world how it is. I wanted peace for everyone. I believe that through innovations of the technologies, people can do amazing things. Before, I was a software engineer in a prestigious IT company. Also, I do freelance for graphics, also for mobile development, and many IT-related works. Since before, when I was a kid, like 9 or 10, I anticipate things, what would happen in the end of my life. Until I reach high school, this is the question that I really ask. What is the real purpose of life? When I was in college, the same question remains. What is the real purpose of life? Though I have many friends, we wanted to go right now. We wanted to go to Cagayan Islands. We wanted to go to Cebu. Everything we wanted to go. We couldn't go anywhere. But still, the emptiness inside in my heart, the question still remains. What is the real purpose of life? Maybe I could end my life right now just for me to know what is the real purpose of life. And then by that time, I asked God, God, if you're really out there, or are you really there? I asked Him. This is my last question. This is my last request for you. I wanted to know what is the real purpose of life. What is the true happiness in life? One of the Kingdom Citizen invited me to join in Keepers Club International. So I joined Keepers Club International in their activities, and then as I go on, I felt this calmness in my life, the peace. You can feel the happiness in them. You can feel them. You can feel the contentment in their hearts, in their minds, the way they talk to you, the way they speak to you, in their eyes, everything. By the time I get curious, what is really the Kingdom Nation? What is really the teachings of Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy? Why is that most of them are contented? Have they found the real purpose of life? I got baptized in February 21, 2016. In that time, I felt the Father. So as time goes by with my career, the company offered me to be assigned or transferred in Japan to work with their sister company. On my way to going to Japan, I pray sincerely. I walk, I pray, I close my eyes. Then, praise the Father, I saw the appointed Son of God. I saw His face with bright lights behind Him. It's like a sun, the brightest sun you can see, with His face smiling at me. As I go on Kingdom Nation, questions after questions arises. So the Almighty Father did not stop there. When I ask question every time I pray, the Almighty Father answers. I also ask, when will this stop? There's always this an element of doubt. That's when Pastor said, where were you when I was 6 years in the mountain? Then, ingit siya, asa mo sa time nga nagsakripisyo ka itong gitawag ko sa amahan? Then I asked, and also suddenly came in my mind, Pastor was right. He sacrificed himself just to know what is really the purpose of life, or what is really the will of the Father. He uses an ultimate faith. And then also I asked myself, what if I use faith? Then by that time, I do exactly as Pastor said, tuhuin na lang ko bisan dili ka kasabot sa tanan butang ang akong istorya. And then I just follow Pastor. I use faith. And then suddenly, I felt the contentment. I felt the inner peace. It's like I was complete. Just suddenly, my mind was open for everything. Everything He teach, everything He said has now a purpose, has now a real deeper meaning. Now, I can say to myself, wala na ko'y laing pangitaon pa. Pastor already said everything. Here in the Kingdom Nation, I found the real purpose of life. It is to do the will of the Father. To all people, to you, also the same question as mine. What is the real purpose of life? Try to listen to Pastor. Try to listen to his words, to his message, and you will also receive the completeness or the contentment that I felt together with the Son, first the Father.
Pumasok ka sa kingdom kasi kailangan mo ng kaligtasan. Kasi alam mo na may kaluluwa kay it's either hell or heaven ang pupuntahan mo. Na ito salvation na to, hindi mo to hinihingi na parang candy lang. Parang kailangan mo tong bayaran. Nabaptize po ako, naging active po ako sa kingdom. Sumasali ako sa mga youth activities. Doon din kasi ako na-attract sa mga music lessons. Habang tumatagal kasi ako sa loob ng kingdom, napapansin ko talaga yung changes sa buhay ko. From head to foot talaga. The way I talk, the way I think, the way I walk. Lahat talaga binago ng Ama. So, doon na yung point na sinabi ko na, anong meron dito? Bakit ganito? Kasi napapansin ko sa sarili ko, hindi ako ganito dati, hindi ako ito. Dumating kasi ako sa point na hindi ko na talaga kaya, hindi ko na kayang i-handle yung problema ko, hindi ko na kayang i-handle yung trials. So, naisipan ko talaga na magpakamatay. Kailangan ko ng tulong, pero hindi ko alam kung kailan ko hihingin. So, na-curious talaga ako. So, yun yung time na nakinig talaga ako sa message ni Sir. Yung tumatak talaga sa akin na yung sinabi ni Pastor na no matter how heavy it was, patuloy ka lang talaga. Carry your cross and follow Him talaga. Hindi ko alam kung para saan yung message na yun. Ang alam ko lang, naiintindihan ko na. That's where I started to commit my life. Fourth year high school ako that time. Ilang months na lang mag-graduate na ako ng high school. Pero iniwan ko yun. Iniwan ko yung pag-aral ko. Iniwan ko na yung pamilya ko. Iniwan ko na yung ambisyon ko. Iniwan ko na lahat. Ang nasa isip ko lang nun, gusto ko dito. I wanted to be with Pastor. Yun lang talaga yung nasa isip ko nun. Gusto kong makasama si Pastor. Kaya willing na talaga akong iwan lahat. Kumbaga, hindi ko na inisip kung paano ko haharapin ang bukas. Basta ang nasa isip ko lang, gusto ko dito, gusto ko makasama si Pastor. Hanggang sa meron yung time na nililid na ako ng Ama sa iba't ibang klase ng trials, circumstances. Doon ko talaga ito na pala yung message na carry your cross. Kasi may mga time na nadi-discourage ka, may mga time na iniisip mo yung comfort mo, yung family mo. Although nandiyan na yung message ni Sir, meron pa rin talaga yung doubts na darating. So, dun na ulit ako naging weak. Lahat ng mga kayang people ko, nandito sila, pero ako nandito. Yun yung nasabi ko na, ayoko dito. Parang dun na naman ako nawala ng prayers. doon na naman ako nanghina. So, glory to the Father lang kasi yung hindi talaga ako pinabayaan ng Ama. Kung siya yung pattern, tas ikaw yung minumod ng Ama, bakit mo siya tatanungin kung bakit ganyan kanya ginagawa? Why are you making me like this? Bakit ganyan ang pagmumod? Yun yung sinabi ni Pastor na the highest form of respect, the highest form of love is yung maging submissive ka lang, obedience lang talaga. Kasi doon ko na-realize na, oo nga no, hindi ko na pala hawak ang buhay ko kasi binigay ko na sa Ama. So very thankful talaga ako sa Ama kasi honestly speaking, wala akong may pagmamalaki sa Kanya. Ito lang talaga yung kaya kong ibigay sa Ama ang buhay ko. Alam ko na may purpose ang Ama kung bakit ako nandito sa loob. Hindi ko na inisip ang pamilya ko. Kung sila man yung kung sila man yung ahadlang sa akin, hindi ko na talaga yan titignan. Kay Pastor na lang talaga ako. Yun na nga yung bumalik ulit yung desire ko na no matter what talaga. Gusto kong makasama si Sir. Even if the Father treat me royally or not. As long as it is the Father, I will follow Him talaga. Yung commitment na nakikita ko kay Pastor, yun talaga yung ilalagay ko rin sa sarili ko. Yun talaga yung susundan ko. Yun talaga yung pinapasalamatan ko sa Ama na kahit na naging ganun ako, tinanggap pa rin ako ng Ama. Na nandyan ka na sa bahay niyo, ginagawa mo na yung dating buhay mo, hindi ka masaya. Hinahanap mo talaga ang kingdom. I felt love, I felt happiness. Yung feeling na may nagko-comfort sa'yo, yun yung naramdaman ko that time. Unang-una po sa lahat, Pastor, maraming salamat po sa walang sawang pag-preach po ng message of salvation na kagaya ko po. Marami po pong buhay ang nabago at nabigyan ng bagong pag-asa. Maraming salamat din, Pastor, sa walang sawang pagturo sa amin ng total obedience sa paggawa ng kalooban ng Ama, ng discipline at maging isang responsableng kabataan. Higit sa lahat po, Pastor, maraming salamat po na yung hinahanap kong pag-ibig sa aking mga magulang, sa'yo ko lang po naramdaman. Praise the Father.
My name is Colleen Sousa. I am 19 years old and I am from Maranhão. I grew up in a humble household, but with a very disturbing childhood. When I was younger, about 5 or 6 years old, I remember some things. I remember that sometimes I saw my parents fighting, my grandmother intervening to help my mother and us, the children, so we would not witness that scene. My father seldom slept at home, but later that night, my father arrived and they started quarreling. My mother told us that her blood was boiling and that she had heard many voices and started to say meaningless things, until my father decided to leave us without informing anyone. And we were left alone, my mother, my siblings, and me. We started living with my grandmother because she didn't want to leave my mother living alone. I used to attend Assembly of God with my grandmother because while my mother was sick, I used to accompany my grandma. When I was 13, I told her that I would no longer attend because I didn't feel well. and I had never felt well because when I used to go, she would force me to go. So I had no choice. But I understood her point of view. She wanted me to attend because she didn't want me to experience the things from the outside world. But when I grew up, I became more rebellious. I didn't see any longer the difference between being there or being in any other place or being in the world itself. So then I stopped once and for all. I started going out with my friends to parties. I did a lot of worldly things. Both me and my brother. My brother was like that too. And we gave a lot of headaches to my mother. And she went out sometimes, 2 o'clock in the morning, looking for us. My brother and I always fought a lot, because sometimes he came home drunk and started fighting. I fought back with him too, because I did not want him to quarrel with my mother. We even attacked each other sometimes. I was also very aggressive myself. And I also suffered from psychological problems. Whenever I looked at her, I already felt so bad. I could not understand who God really was. So there was a moment when I felt a great hatred against God. Of a God that I did not know, that I felt so much hate, because when I spoke to him, I was never answered. He did not listen to me. But that time I told him that I was desperate. So I started to mutilate myself. Until one day I knelt in bed. Even when I was in that church, I had no custom of praying, but that day I knelt, I think I was desperate. And I told God that I did not want to die. And that I wanted him to lead me out of that place because I did not feel well in that place. A few days later, my grandmother was there, and she also saw my situation. And she called Auntie Arlene, as she wanted me to live with her in Guyana. But I was a bit scared, because I had never left my mother. I met Auntie Arlene, and she is a very good person. She was like an angel. When I arrived here, I met the kingdom through her and my uncle Antonio, and I thank the Father so much for having guided me here inside the kingdom. Because from the first day that I came here in the kingdom, I attended the first preaching of Pastor. When he spoke about repentance, I never doubted his message. When Pastor said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one goes to the Father if it is not through me," I already believed at once, because no one who spoke like that could be a person with a common spirit. because the people and even the preachers that I had seen, none of them spoke in that way. When I had heard Pastor, it was a completely different feeling. I was never a religious person who was even interested in church. I had never enjoyed watching those people casting out demons, displaying talents to those people, and those people being led to a faith that I did not believe. I felt truly that I was hearing my calling when I heard the shepherd's message say, "Repent, because the day of the Lord has come." When I heard that, it was like as if someone had started to display a movie about what I had already done, of what I had already spoken. And I thank the Father because I found a way here in the kingdom, another family that today I already call Pastor as my father for what he had done for me. Sister Elizabeth, who I call my mother, who has always been guiding me since the first days I was here. And first to the Father, because it was Him who guided me here, because I really had the desire to know who God really is. I decided that nothing else could take away my focus, that I could not deviate from this path anymore, because it was in this way that I knew the true God. I dedicated my life to the Father through the appointed Son, as I am now a part of this spiritual army of the Kingdom Nation, because my heart is fixed and my mind is made up. Nothing can take away my focus from the Father. This family of the Kingdom that has helped me overcome my adversities, my ups and downs. With this learning every day to grow even more in the Father's will, and that I may reach this spiritual level where I may be called a daughter of the Father, which is my greatest desire. This world no longer brings hope, but I thank the Father because the kingdom of the Father came to earth to bring hope to all the children, that the Father is gathering even more people here in Brazil, so that we can truly become children of the Father and be a part of His spiritual army.
Louvado seja o Pai. Amém.
I believe that real happiness can be found, and the world that we live can be changed through our choices. The choices that we make each day define who we are and what we want to be. My name is Jerry, and I am a dreamer. I want to be successful, to have everything, and achieve all greatest things the world can offer.
I do 3 shifts every day, and I teach the students for 4 hours each session, total of 12 hours a day. As a teacher of Korean language, you have to assess first your students, and you have to use the simplest method in order for them to understand, because it's different language to teach to other people or students.
I chose to be tough. I always thought it's the only thing that I need to have to succeed in life. But at the end of each day, I felt empty, devastated, stained, and dirty. I've searched for solutions. I've looked for answers. Every time I do so, I always thought I was making the right choice. But as I run into many choices, the light becomes dimmer and dimmer. All of a sudden, I am in total darkness. I am in a deep pit asking for help.
I realized that even though I'm a teacher and shared my knowledge to others, I still don't know anything about the purpose why I live. I project myself each day as a very happy teacher, contented in life. We're having so much fun with my students during our lessons. But they don't know I'm in deep struggle, I'm in pain.
I turned to religions. I sought for more answers. But the more I searched, the more answers became vague. Suddenly, I was afraid to make more choices.
That night, I went into my knees and prayed to God. I was in tears and I kept saying Lord, please lead me to your path. Please lead me to your path. And after a couple of days, my older brother introduced Pastor Apollo to me and he told me to watch his preachings.
When it becomes a revelation, it will nourish the spiritual thirst and hunger in your heart. And you will come out not empty.
I dream about being in a very crowded place and somebody told me that, balik kung asa ka. Balik kung asa ka. I didn't know what it meant, but the message was very clear. And suddenly the setting was changed to a different place. I was in front of a swimming pool.
I have to go back, but where? All my life, I'm making the wrong choices.
I started listening to Pastor Apollo and bit by bit, I understood his message. I said to myself, bakit ngayon ko lang nalaman to? Why? Bawat salita ni Pastor, nasasagot lahat ng tanong ko. I truly believe that he is appointed by the Father in these last days.
He holds the key to the real meaning in life. He made a choice to follow the Father faithfully. No wrong turns, no dead ends.
It's your spiritual that God is concerned about. If you really want to go to heaven, you have to commit, dedicate yourself, and obey the will of the Father. What is the key to that? Repentance.
I chose to follow and learn to obey His words without hesitation. I entered the blessed life in the kingdom. Free from sin, free from burdens and pain, I was once a dreamer of earthly treasures. But the quest led me to more precious one, a gem that cannot be bought. That is the salvation of my soul. We can change the world that we live in. We can choose to be strong. We can be free.
The teachings of Pastor Apollo led me to find the true happiness and the real meaning in life. I decided to quit my decent job and have chosen to offer my God-given talents, skills, and my whole life to be one of the Father's spiritual army of goodness. It was a very hard decision at first, but now my heart is fixed, my mind is made up. I choose to follow Him through the appointed Son. Because nothing can compare to a life being dedicated for the Father's glory.
And let the entrance of His Word bring you enlightenment.
I am Jerry Sigasis, once a dreamer, but now I am living the dream. And I pledge allegiance to our Almighty Father through His appointed Son.
My name is Chanel Razo. I'm 15 years old and I'm from the KOC of Los Angeles, California. I've been in the kingdom for 7 years. Background story, I was born in the Philippines and I was there until I was 6 years old, until we moved here to the United States with my family, my dad, my mom, my brother, and I. Here, it was different than what I expected, than what we all had expected. And the worst part about it was that my dad left without notice. He didn't tell any of us, and he left my mom with debts. He left at this time where everything was just falling apart and there was bills on top of bills. And we moved about maybe 5 times within a year span, and we were constantly having an unstable way of living. And we grew up very quickly and we learned how to be independent. And as a child, I knew I wasn't normal and that I had to do many things on my own, and I had to learn how to become independent and to, be on my own most of the time. After a while, I learned to live with it and to accept it, but I've always known that there was something else for me. And praise the Father, luckily, in that same year, my mom found the kingdom. And when we came to the kingdom, my first impression was very bright. Everything was very heavenly. And I found a place where people took me in like family. And the kingdom was really a safe haven. It was a silver lining, because the thing that I lost and the thing that I yearned for the most was what was here 100-fold. Here I found a family. I knew that this was the start of something new. And what brought me closer to the kingdom was through the music ministry. I started off playing in the music, in the orchestra, in the choir, and we were part of the starting youth here, the starting young people in the KLC. I learned many preachings from the Appointed Son that really give you a different view towards everything and what life is about and what the purpose of why we have to serve the Almighty Father. I really thank our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo Sikloy, for not only giving me a spiritual life, but he's blessed my physical life as well. He covered for what my biological dad wasn't able to give and provide. My dad wasn't here for 10 years of my life, and Pastor was there to raise me, to guide me. And I think it's such a blessing that I learned these things at a young age, that I came to know salvation as a young child and growing into it as a teenager. And most people don't expect us teenagers to have any matter in such topics such as spirituality and anything dealing with God. To the youth of the world today, my message is that why not put yourself in something greater when you're wasting your lives in vices, you're wasting your talents to become entertainment for the world and for them to just look down upon you, when you're wasting your energy, your youthful lives just for useless things that fade away rather than a life of eternity. A lot of teenagers tend to think that nobody is there for them and that they're constantly alone, when the whole time, if you were only serving the Almighty Father, you would know that He's the one that's always there. For me personally, I could testify that life has a better purpose and has a brighter future only if you serve the Almighty Father. Because without spirituality, you are dead physically and spiritually, because you lose your purpose in life and you lose your means. So why not become and take part of something greater beyond life, but towards an eternal life? I really thank the Almighty Father through His appointed Son, our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo Sikloy, for this life that He's given me full of blessings and privilege, and for having not only a blessed physical life, but a spiritual life as well. Praise the Father.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Almighty Father through His appointed Son, our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo Sikibaloy, for giving me the opportunity to testify on how the Almighty Father has changed my life. My name is Marie-Mila Chapelle. I was born and raised by a single mother in Montreal, Canada. My biological father left us when I was really young. So at some point, my mother wasn't able to take care of us anymore. She had to drop out of college and start working full-time to pay the bills, and even then, taking care of 4 young children was really hard for her, especially at her age. So at 6 years old, I was placed in a foster family. I ended up living with them for 11 years, and I developed what I thought was a strong relationship with the 7 other children and my foster parents. However, when I turned 17, my social worker came to school one morning, and she told me that my foster father had been sexually abusing one of my sisters. So without even getting to say goodbye to my family, I was left alone in Montreal in a small apartment. I was left with the questions, what could I have done to avoid that? How did I not see that coming? So for 2 years, I struggled to keep my life under control. I struggled financially, emotionally, I struggled at school, with my studies, and especially struggling to rebuild a relationship with my biological mother. I ended up dropping out of college and working almost 7 days a week because I couldn't handle my studies. But praise the Father, that was the perfect will of the Almighty Father, because that's when I was introduced to the kingdom. When I got invited to the kingdom, I was really reluctant to accept the invitation, because even though I've always been a really open-minded person with other people's beliefs, I was an atheist, and I didn't think that going to what I thought was a church on a Sunday morning would be something that would be interesting for me. But praise the Father, my friend ended up convincing me to go, and that morning turned out to be really life-changing for me. I was able to see all the people around me during the Thanksgiving worship presentation, worshiping the Almighty Father, giving Him their all, shouting, dancing, crying, and singing. And that's when I realized that there was something missing in my life. So I started attending regularly the Thanksgiving worship presentations in the KLC of Montreal. And 6 months later, praise the Father, I got baptized. And 3 months after my baptism, I received my calling from the Almighty Father through His appointed Son. And that's when I decided to dedicate my entire life to the Almighty Father as a part of the spiritual army of goodness of the appointed Son of God here in Canada. I'd like to thank the man who made all of this possible for me. Pastor, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to start my life all over again, for giving me a better life. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to repent and to be a part of the Kingdom Nation, where goodness, kindness, and blessings are overflowing. Thank you for being our model, for showing us the way to becoming overcomers and good sons and daughters of the Almighty Father. We owe everything to you, Pastor. So for all this, I'd like to give back all the glory, all the honor, the praise, and thanksgiving to the Almighty Father, our Lord Jesus Christ, the Creator of all, through His appointed Son, our beloved Pastor, Pastor Apollo. Praise the Father.
call is now being recorded.
Thank you for calling. This is Amy, and I'm here to provide great help for you today. How may I help you?
The BPO industry have been developed greatly over the past few years, which mainly outsource Filipinos. In fact, it has grown to be the second largest source of income or employment here in the Philippines. A person who works in a BPO is called a call center agent. To service customers, handle queries of incoming or outgoing phone calls is like a way of life for most of us. Normally, a call center agent sleeps during the day and is awake in the night till the next morning due to the time zone difference of their customers. An apparent fact of living this kind of life are the rewards and gratification. There are two sides of a coin, and many are actually clueless about how toxic the BPO life can get. I work in a graveyard shift. That's between 7 in the evening until 4:30 in the morning as a telephone banker in one of the most prestigious companies in the Philippines and also the biggest bank in the United States. I take almost 100 calls a day, no hold time, and no after-call work.
Every payday, after work, I hang out with my friends. I do gimmicks, I join KTV sessions, you know, a normal scenario which is simply to alleviate stress.
I love shopping for I view things as happiness. I can say I am materialistic. You know, I want to be the first to try out the latest trends. Main reason for all of these? To reward thyself.
Even if I almost have all of the things that I want, there's still something, a missing piece inside of me.
It is typical to have shifting schedules and rest days in the BPO world. Sundays are like normal weekdays for us. I myself won't compromise a day of rest over some religious pursuit. Until one day, I found this Pinas newspaper beside me. Might have been left by someone. I haven't encountered this kind of newspaper here in Cebu. So due to my curiosity, nagpakli-pakli ko ug nakita nako ang picture ni Pastor Apollo. I searched his name and I saw the title, The Appointed Son of God. Curiosity got the best of me, so I clicked on the link further.
It was the first time that I saw a man boldly preaching like no one before.
It was something I've never seen nor heard amidst all the Catholic masses I've attended.
After all of your accomplishments were made and you had not prepared for the eternity of your soul, you have failed miserably. That's why I am here for that purpose. I am the most relevant of all because I will tell you right now, I am not sent by religion. I am not sent by any denomination. My loyalty is not to a person. My loyalty is not to an organization. My loyalty is not to a denomination or religion. My loyalty is only to the one who came 2,000 years ago, gave us the new covenant, the new agreement how to go to heaven.
It was a day's work, so I dozed off while watching that video. Then I dreamt, an unusual dream. I was surrounded with people and they're all wearing white. It was a heavenly place. Then a man called me out. He was also wearing white, but he outshines the rest. Who are you? Why are you here? He asked me. I was surprised when I saw myself the only one wearing black. Then I recognized the face of the man, and it was Pastor Apollo C. Kiboloy.
I was awakened in that dream with bewilderment.
Questions after questions came pouring in. That dream has got me unsettled for days. That vision of me as the only one wearing black got me anxious, Then I saw this SMNI app. I downloaded the app and accessed it. I forgot it was a Sunday. And I then saw a huge crowd in all white, praising, praying, with angelic voices filling my room, filling my loneliness. A voided space has been slowly filled in.
I found myself having this desire to attend that kind of celebration.
After having attended on one of the Thanksgiving and worship presentation, I craved for more.
I gradually felt the struggle to change.
It was an inner battle between my pleasures and the reality of where my soul's at stake. Not only did I attend the Thanksgiving and worship presentation, I was also introduced to Keepers Club International Cebu and started participating in their activities every Saturdays. Piece by piece, the voided space is being filled.
I still find time to catch up with my old habits, be with my friends, the usual stuff. But I realize my heart is no longer in its usual place. I am finding happiness in the sudden turn in my life. It felt like my weekends are very incomplete without attending the Keepers' activities and hearing the words of the Almighty Father through the appointed Son.
Unbeknownst to me, I let the Almighty Father's will take over. I accepted His message through Pastor, and it finally led me to join the Kingdom Nation.
True change is manifested in the kingdom.
It taught me the true value of money. I made sure that 10% of what I've earned is all for the Almighty Father.
Bring ye all the tithes in the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Do not invest in temporal riches first. Invest in eternal riches first.
In a week, the 6 days are ours to enjoy. Yet the Father only asks for one, and we should give that to Him, the Creator of all.
Through you, I can do anything.
And hello, universe.
Yes,
This
I
is
can
your
do all
Keepers,
things.
Amy, and you are listening
'Cause it's
to
you
Keepers
who
on
gives
Air.
me
The Almighty Father has blessed me in so many ways. I never thought my being a call center agent would be used for His glory, since I am interested with the ministry of being an anchor and co-producer of Keepers on Air Cebu program here in DYAR 765 Cebu that airs between 4 to 5 p.m. every Saturdays.
The Almighty Father through the Son also taught us to always be the head and not the tail. Praise the Father Almighty, I continued to excel at work and received a lot of rewards and recognition.
I let that be used for the Almighty Father's glory by being one of the youth facilitator in Keepers Club International Cebu chapter.
I also shared these victories to my family, and now we are one with the cause of the appointed Son.
That dream sank in. It indeed has a purpose, and I thank the Almighty Father for that perfect orchestration. And for filling up that once voided space with sense, with value, and for taking me out of that darkness.
It has been my pleasure assisting you today. This has been Amy. Thank you for your time.
They said that careers fill our pocket, while adventures satisfy our soul. That is why I occupied my life with it to the fullest. I grew up embracing the culture, faith, and doctrine of the Catholic Church. They said, to where your faith was born, you should end up in this world with the same fate. Our bishop granted me a scholarship to finish my studies. I graduated secondary education major in religious studies at the Ateneo de Zamboanga last 2007. In 2008, I was sent to Australia as one of the delegates in the whole Philippines to meet the then Pope Benedict XVI. And last 2011, I was appointed by the bishop to be the assistant youth coordinator for the whole Mindanao. I was religious, but into vices.
Iligtas mo kami sa apoy ng impyerno. Hanguin mo ang mga kaluluwa sa pagkakalo.
Not all that say unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but they that do the will of the Father who is in heaven.
Ngayon at kung kami mamamatay. Amen.
There was really a blank hitting me from the inside. But here came a time. Somebody invited me to the kingdom. Out of curiosity, I searched it on the internet. That time, I was intrigued to the man who claimed himself the appointed Son of God in these last days. Instead of closing Pastor Apollo's preaching, I was driven by his message, and I felt something that quenched my heart yearning.
You can do anything to that body. It does not have any sense anymore, because that soul that can see, that can feel, that can hear, that can smell, that can taste, that can feel the pain is no longer in that body. It is somewhere facing God in judgment.
After listening to Pastor Apollo, I dreamed that I was in the midst of a crowd in white. They were all talking to one another, but I couldn't hear anything. Suddenly, a conversation at my back caught my attention, wherein a lady asked a little girl in vernacular, "Taga-asa di ay ka?" So, I was expecting a certain place as an answer, but the little girl answered,
"Taga-kingdom."
I knew that the Father was calling me to enter into the kingdom. So I surrendered my life to the Almighty Father and obey His will through His appointed Son.
Wow, this is really serious business of the soul. I was sent for this, my brothers and sisters. I'm not introducing to you religion and denominations. I am introducing to you salvation of the soul that was separated from God.
Just like the Son, I would say, my heart is fixed. My mind is made up. I will carry my cross and follow the Father's will no matter what. Now I can say that being spiritual is the best adventure. I feel the true essence of life and the true freedom here. We may go to different trails and weather conditions in our spiritual adventure, but we have to stand strong, endure, and keep the faith up to the end. Life is the consequences of our choices. I do not regret the choices I've made to leave everything behind, including my family, my friends, my decent job, my future plans, just to follow the footsteps of the Son. Being a Catholic is not by blood and inheritance, nor by circumstance. It is a matter of choice. Choice, a matter of destruction and transformation. We are all